In today's video, we're talking about how China's electric vehicle miracle just skidded into a very real, very expensive wall, and why the shockwaves matter for every driver, investor, and policymaker from Shanghai to Sacramento. All the sources I used are linked in the description. When most people picture the Chinese EV story, they see the glossy headlines, the country that went from producing barely a handful of battery cars in 2010 to churning out more than 9 million in 2024, more than the rest of the world combined. What gets less airtime is the industrial arms race that made that boom possible. Starting back in 2009, Beijing dangled national purchase subsidies worth up to 60,000 yuan per car, then added tax holidays, cheap land, and ultra-low interest financing that local governments doled out like candy to any startup promising green tech glory. Provincial rivals piled on their own perks, and within a decade, the country was building nearly 49 million vehicles a year, yet barely 6 in 10 assembly line slots were actually needed. That imbalance sounds abstract until you walk the factory floor. Analysts now estimate total installed auto capacity has ballooned past 55 million units, while real sales hover around 30 million, pushing overall utilization below 50%. One Bloomberg deep dive called the result zombie metal, billions of dollars tied up in plants running half idle, hemorrhaging cash every minute the line keeps moving. Subsidies made it feel painless, until they didn't. Beijing began phasing out direct purchase handouts in 2020, then yanked the last remaining payout at the end of 2022. Provinces filled the gap at first, but even they started slashing budgets as land sale revenue collapsed and COVID-era debts piled up. In June 2023, the finance ministry replaced the old cash-at-checkout model with a 4-year, 520 billion yuan tax rebate program that helps buyers but forces carmakers to wait months, not minutes, to recoup discounts. Margins shriveled overnight. Into that squeeze barreled Tesla. In October 2022, and again in January 2023, the company chopped sticker prices on its Shanghai-built Model Y and Model 3, sparking a discount domino effect Chinese media now call the 1,000 brand price war. Domestic titans BYD, SAIC, Geely, and upstarts like NIO and Xpeng matched or beat those cuts, sometimes offering zero down, zero interest deals sweetened with free charging or Huawei-branded autonomy software vouchers. By early 2025, Chinese showrooms resembled Black Friday every day. Great for shoppers, fatal for balance sheets. The financial data are brutal. A Reuters scan of 33 listed automakers shows inventories swelling to 370 billion yuan, total debt surging 56% since 2019, and median net margins collapsing to just 0.83%. Less than 1 US cent on every revenue dollar. Average payment cycles to part suppliers stretched past 108 days, effectively forcing thousands of small component makers to bankroll their much larger customers. That's when Beijing slammed the brakes. In June 2025, the industry ministry herded 17 major automakers, including BYD, Geely, Chery, Xiaomi, and Xpeng, into a closed-door meeting and extracted a public pledge. Invoices get paid within 60 days, period. The commitment turned into law on the 1st of June, and regulators even opened a website where unpaid suppliers can tattle directly to the ministry, an unprecedented naming and shaming mechanism in China's normally opaque auto ecosystem. Just weeks later, President Xi Jinping fired off the rhetorical warning shot heard around the sector. Speaking at a high-level economic conclave, he blasted blind construction in hot industries like EVs and AI and asked pointedly whether every province really needed its own flashy tech cluster. In propaganda speak that amounts to the red light at an expressway on-ramp, officials who keep rubber-stamping new car plants risk career-ending scrutiny from Beijing's anti-waste squads. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to share these deep dives with more curious minds. Policy moves followed lightning fast. On 16 July 2025, China's cabinet vowed to crack down on irrational competition, promising cost investigations, real-time price monitoring, and a ban on below-cost selling that could be enforced with fines or license suspensions. Regulators also homed in on a loophole that let factories shovel unsold cars out the back door as zero-kilometer used vehicles, booking phony sales at home while dumping brand-new inventory in Russia, Central Asia, and the Middle East at fire sale prices. The Commerce Ministry summoned BYD, Dongfeng, and others, warning that the back alley trade was distorting markets and tanking residual values. Meanwhile, foreign governments started erecting their own defenses. The European Union, after a bruising internal fight, imposed tariffs of up to 45% on China-built EVs last October, arguing that lavish subsidies let Chinese brands undercut European rivals. Washington went further. In May 2024, the Biden administration slapped a 100% levy on Chinese EVs and followed up 4 months later with a ban on Chinese connected car software, aimed at blocking any vehicle that phones home to servers in Shenzhen. Trade walls make a bad home glut worse. Exports had been the pressure valve, rocketing 64% in 2023 and turning China into the world's top car exporter, but the new tariffs threatened to slam that door. Analysts at the Institute Montaigne think Volkswagen's hometown of Wolfsburg could feel the pain before year-end. Yet the bigger risk is boomerang. Every shipload turned away at Rotterdam adds to the pileup in Tianjin, forcing deeper domestic discounts that put more brands underwater. Who sinks and who swims? BYD looks strongest, thanks to a vertically integrated battery supply chain and a pivot toward higher margin hybrids. It still ekes out a 5+% net margin, even in a knife fight, dwarfing rivals like NIO and Leap Motor that bleed cash on every sale. But even BYD has warned investors that Europe's tariff wall could slice export profit to the bone, and Chairman Wang Chuanfu has floated halting new mainland capacity until the dust settles. Geely's billionaire founder Li Shufu went further. On stage at the Chongqing Auto Show in June, he declared, "We will stop building new car plants." For a group that owns Volvo, Polestar, and London's black cab maker, that's a stunning shift from expansion to consolidation. Foreign OEMs are retrenching too. Hyundai just sold its Chongqing factory at a fire sale price after years of running it far below capacity. One of many zombie internal combustion plants analysts say could litter China's industrial heartland as the EV tide recedes. Consumers love the near-term bargains. Who wouldn't take a sub-$10,000 city EV with a free home charger thrown in? But there's a catch. Warranties become toilet paper if a brand folds, and residual values nosedive when you're competing against unsold 2025 cars, retagged as used 2026 models. Regulators hope that capping price wars and funneling weaker players into mergers will stabilize resale markets and keep cash flowing back into R&D for safer batteries and better software. There's also a climate twist. Beijing still wants half of all new cars sold in 2030 to be zero emission, and it needs healthy companies to hit that goal. So rather than blanket subsidies, policymakers are steering money into charging grid upgrades, solid-state battery pilots, and tax breaks tied to energy efficiency. Provincial incentives are getting more surgical too. Since May, at least 10 local governments have offered 2,000 to 5,000 yuan rebates specifically for cars running Huawei's autonomous stack, betting that smarter software, not more factories, will differentiate winners from losers. The wider supply chain is reshuffling in response. CATL, the world's largest battery maker, is slowing domestic expansion and pouring capital into a Hungarian plant designed to sidestep EU tariffs. By contrast, smaller parts suppliers stuck in China's payment cycle vice are seeking lifelines abroad, relocating assembly lines to Vietnam and Indonesia, where labor is cheaper and customers pay on 30-day terms. The Ministry of Commerce quietly loosened export credit rules in April, letting suppliers ensure invoices shipped to Belt and Road markets that still welcome Chinese cars. Where does it all go from here? Consultancy Alex Partners projects that fewer than 1 in 10 of China's 100-plus EV nameplates will survive to turn a sustainable profit by 2030. Think of today's market as a high-stakes reality show. Season 1 was Who Can Raise Cash Fastest? Season 2 became Who Can Slash Prices Deepest? And Season 3, premiering right now, is Who Can Stay Solvent when the government says play nice? The episodes ahead involve debt restructurings, shotgun marriages, and maybe a few spectacular bankruptcies that send shockwaves through global battery metal prices. Yet amid the chaos lies opportunity. Some of the world's most advanced heat pump HVAC systems, 800-volt silicon carbide inverters, and vehicle-to-grid bidirectional chargers are being engineered in China precisely because companies must innovate to escape the margin death spiral. If regulators can herd the stampede without crippling that creativity, the sector could emerge leaner, greener, and more export competitive, just not at the breakneck pace that built those half-empty factories in the first place. All sources are linked in the description, including our previous video, Yasa's new electric motor record will change electric cars forever. I put the link to that video in the description of this one too. See you there.